Welcome, everybody. This is the very first interview or the first session of our Online MBA event for today. And I'm very happy to be welcoming Lori Lobby, who is a current student at Vlerick, and actually Dr. Meus. I'll give you the full name, but please, will you give me the full name of the business school?
Yeah, it's a Vlerick Business School.
Okay, just Vlerick Business School. All right, great. And we've got Professor Dr. Leonardo Meus, who is the program director for the Online MBA. So this is exciting because we get to have, this contrast of both of you here, where you're at the program actively, we can hear from you, and then also just about the school, the program itself. So this is a program spotlight, but I'm also going to go a little bit into just the Online MBA in general, and specifically, pursuing an international MBA online. So, Leonardo, will you tell us a little bit about the program? I know, for our first-time viewers who may have not heard, Vlerick is the first Northern European business school to bring an online MBA to the market. It's very well regarded, and I believe it's 100% delivered online the last time I checked. So beyond that, what are the other key program points that we should let our audience know?
Yeah, so I think we've built in a lot of flexibility in our online MBA, and that already starts with the fact that you have 3 moments in the year that you can step in. So it's either in April, and that's 25 April for those of you that would be still to join the next cohort. And then we also have an opportunity to step in September and in January. So that also means that, with 3 moments to step in, we start often with a relatively small cohort, about 10, 15 participants. But yeah, then together, of course, they form a normal cohort. What is also nice is that relatively small groups all start with the same course. It's a leadership course. And I think that is also good because that really creates trust and is a moment of self-reflection at the very beginning of the program with these 10, 15 that start at the same time. But as soon as they enter into the calendar and the other courses, they also get to know people of other cohorts because that's partly due to the flexibility that you can even take a break, right? You don't have to take follow the calendar like everyone. You can take a break, or you can even accelerate. You can take 2 courses at the same time. And that means that in an average course, we have something like 25 to 45 participants. Another aspect of that flexibility I already mentioned, right? You can speed up or slow down. Normally, it takes about 2 years and 3 months if you follow the normal calendar, but you can go faster, almost a bit more than a year if you really want to go fast. Or if you take these breaks, we allow you to take up to 5 years. So you could say that it goes from almost a full-time MBA, if you would want to a more executive MBA that you can combine with other activities. Yeah, maybe that's a good start.
That's a great start. You answered so many more questions with just that one. So April 25th, you're starting a new cohort. Now, what's the, did we miss the application deadline? It's April 12th already. So I'm assuming that the application deadline has passed. And that
no, you can still join. We really allow, because that's also the beauty of online, right? You just have to be ready to step in the kickoff and in the first course. So if you can still organize yourself, that's fine for us. Our whole admissions team is always working around the clock, because we've noticed that in online MBAs, people do have a tendency sometimes to subscribe last minute. So.
Right.
But we're already subscribing people for September as well. So they run in parallel, these kind of admissions.
Very neat. And then what you're saying is no matter when I start, I first take a course in leadership. And then after that course, which, so the courses are offered asynchronously. I can take it any time of day. And then is it a month, or how long does a typical course take?
A typical course is spread out over 3 weeks. Sorry. Yeah. Well, it's 3 moments that you have to be synchronous. That's the first thing I wanted to emphasize. And these synchronous moments are really important, right? Because for us, our online MBA, we didn't want it to be a kind of self-paced MBA. We wanted it to be a regular MBA where there is a lot of emphasis on social learning, also group work. We have about half of the assignments is more group work, half is individual. And that means that on Saturdays, we are together for 3 hours for each course. So in total, that means 9 hours that we're together synchronous. And also because we have people following the MBA in different time zones, what we do is we always, switch from mornings to afternoons. So let's say in 1 year, a certain course offers the synchronous moments in the morning. That means that the next year, that course is offered in a synchronous moment in the afternoon, so that some people can, always take the morning or always take the afternoon session, depending on their preferences. But around these synchronous moments, we of course have also activities that that are more spread out over several weeks. Yeah. And I guess Lauren will be able to tell you a lot of details because I've talked to several participants. Some participants tell me they really concentrate their learning during weekends. Others prefer to spread it out over the week, even in evenings, or depending how you can fit it into your life. So there is still some flexibility there on how you do that, as long as you have your Saturdays available every three
for 3 hours. For 3 hours. 3 hours every Saturday for each course.
Not every Saturday. There is always some weekends that you don't have, and then you have in total 9 hours for each course
of on Saturdays, 9 hours.
Yeah.
Well, and so before we went live, Lauren was telling us that it was the flexibility. So one, that you used to live in Belgium, which was sort of, how did you discover Vlerick? But also the flexibility, and after looking at other schools online. So can you tell us, actually rewind just a minute and tell us why you wanted to get an online or an MBA in general, a master's business degree?
Yeah, absolutely. So throughout my career, I had considered an MBA or some sort of strategic leadership learning because I felt like that's what was lacking in my on-the-job learning and training, was how do you connect the strategy down into execution, and how do you really make sure that you can lead effectively and connect people's jobs to the company strategy. So I had thought about an MBA and had pushed it off because I felt like it would be too difficult to balance work, young kids, and school. And then we ended up moving over to Belgium from Texas, and I made a career change and started working for smaller startups that we had started. So I had a lot more flexibility and control over my schedule. And so as an American living in Belgium, I really wanted to maximize my international experience. And I looked at a lot of different European programs when trying to figure out what I wanted to do, landed on wanting to do an MBA, and landed on Vlerick because it is recognized and certified globally. So in the US as well as kind of around the world. And they offered a lot of flexibility. I actually originally enrolled in a hybrid executive MBA with Vlerick, where most of the learning would be online and you would get together with people, for 1 week blocks in various locations around the world. But COVID hit, and I was able to switch to the fully online MBA and continue to pursue my MBA through COVID without any delays or anything like that. The thing for me that really caused me to go with Vlerick was wanting that cultural diversity and that global experience in an MBA. I knew I would go back to working for a global company after going back to school, and I wanted that cultural exposure. And that's just so embedded in what you get there, because you're working with peers who are from all over the place and professors that are from all over Europe in different areas. So you get this inherent global education just as a part of your normal coursework.
That's fantastic. And how far are you into your program?
So as of next month, I will be done. I am finished with all of the courses. So what Leonardo mentioned is you can go as slow or as fast as you want. So I actually did the fast track, and I did 2 courses at the same time every time. So my coursework was finished over the course of a year. And then at the end of the program, there's a knowledge and action project, which I think is really special and unique to Vlerick. you get to choose what it's essentially your capstone project, and you get to choose what you do it on. Do you want to go work for a company and do a project on their behalf? Do you want to do something at your own company? I'm personally doing mine for the business my husband and I started, and using and leveraging the experience of the Vlerick professors to build out a whole brand marketing plan. So I'm finishing that up, and I will present that at the end of next month and then graduate in June. But I've was able to do all the coursework in a year. And then I know people who are doing it over the 2 years or the 3 or 4 years, depending on what's going on in life and career, which is a really nice thing.
That is great. That's fantastic. And that's also one of the ways it looks like, I think when we're talking about online MBAs, people wonder about networking and they wonder about career services and how, the online MBA answers that. And so it seems that, if you can choose whether you work in your own company, which is, for you, a wonderful opportunity to use this time as sort of an incubator or just an accelerator. And then on the other hand, if you're working for an existing company outside your own, then that's a great networking opportunity too. So are there other ways, Leonardo, that the school addresses networking and career services?
Yeah, so I've been amazed if I see how tight the group is. And I think what's unique is that you do not only have networking within a cohort, but across cohorts, because people take courses whenever they want, right? And then that means that for that course, there is always a new group with some people they've already met and some new. And that in combination with the fact that we have put that emphasis on social learning online as well with these group works, that also means that each group, during a course, in addition to these synchronous moments, they get together in their small groups to work on an assignment. And that then, of course, also creates additional networking opportunities, right? Of course, and we continue to have regular MBA programs as well, not online. That's why Lauren could switch if she wanted to. In your admission process, we will typically talk to each participant to just figure out which of our programs fits them best, right? And then you become an alumnus of the school. So that also means that beyond the program, you have additional networking opportunities, because everyone in the online MBA is, of course, also invited to these additional networking. And that already happens during the program. So if people want to take the opportunity to come to Europe, to come to our school, they are very welcome to do so, but they don't have to. That's, I think, the nice thing, right? It's an optional thing. We've even started to offer some of the trips we do in our other MBA programs as something optional, for people that want to have a more in-person experience, and maybe like here, if the American audience, they would want to come over to Europe to a trip, that would also be something that they can take up additionally, but that's an option.
That's great. And actually, that's another question I think people have when they want to, because we've got people watching they already know they want an online MBA, so they're going to look at what schools are available and what might be the right fit. But other people are sort of discovering, in the last couple of years, the online MBA has grown. A lot more schools are offering, and there's a big difference between I think taking the regular MBA curriculum or part-time MBA curriculum and delivering it online versus having an online MBA program that's been created for online delivery, where you're thinking about how are we going to fold these people into the network, and get them out in person. But I'm going to go to one that I always think about too, for Lauren. You mentioned that you went primarily for career professional services or growth and development, and then you used your capstone project for your own company.
Yes.
There's a lot of soft skills, particularly you start with leadership, that you develop in the program. Did you find that with the online MBA that you are, there's a factor of personal growth?
Yeah. So I think that I was saying every participant starts with the leadership course. And the thing that is really unique about the leadership course is you do a 360 survey, you get tailored individual coaching, and it is a period of intense self-reflection that highlights what are your strengths and your areas for development. And you have to put together an action plan of how you're going to address those in your work or in the MBA program. So you have this roadmap of things you want to work on and gain throughout the MBA program. And that was such a nice thing to have. And there's also check-ins throughout the MBA with the leadership coaches. So it's not, set it and forget it, but you're actually coming back and saying, how am I progressing on this? And so for me, there were certain things that I knew I wanted to work on in terms of, being able to delegate more effectively, working across cultures, being a bit more opinionated and overt and kind of what I thought, things like that. And it was such a safe place to practice those things that then translate over into work. And everyone having those goals and intentions, everyone was working on something from a leadership and a growth perspective. So it became a really open conversation about it in our various group projects. And the way that translated over for my teams was every 7 weeks, you're starting a new course. And we would have a conversation, whatever group we were assigned to at the beginning, like, what time zone are you in? What schedule works for you? How do you like to work? What do you want to get out of this? What are your goals? And so it became this very open conversation. We kind of knew where everyone stood, and it led to really effective group work. That's something that I've taken into my work life. And I have these very candid, open conversations with my team that are different than what I was having before the MBA. And I mean, as simple as, hey, what time do you hate someone calling you? Things like that, because I've learned to work across time zones with people. I've learned that, the way that a Dutch person interacts is very different than the way an American person interacts. And what may have taken me aback at first is just a cultural norm. And so I feel like so much of that soft learning has translated into me being more effective at my job.
That's fantastic. Well, yeah, so International Online MBA. We were talking a little bit before we started broadcasting. So can you share a little bit more before we get specifically into Vlerick?
Yeah, so for me, I wanted the international experience to kind of expand my frame of reference outside of just the US kind of bias, I will say. And I wanted to be able to gain some insight into what was consistent and what was different, and what are kind of some of the cultural differences and the work differences as well. And so one of the things that really stuck out for me as I went through the Vlerick MBA was the focus on sustainability and circular economy and everything like that. It's just very different from, I did a bit of business undergrad in the US, and that just wasn't as much part of our curriculum. And it really is in an international, especially a European MBA. And you just get this different understanding of how the kind of political climate plays into everything and European ways of working. And so that was a big part of why I wanted an international MBA. I felt like I would learn and gain a lot from being the minority in a program. And that wasn't going to be the case in the US. There was also a big cost difference, I will say. The programs that I was looking at in the US, a lot of the reputable online programs were significantly more expensive than the Vlerick program. So I was able to get this global experience that's inherently built in at a lower price.
Right.
So
global experience.
Yep.
Highly regarded business school.
Yep.
And I found my question. It wasn't really a question, but really something that our readers ask about. So when you graduate with an online MBA from Vlerick, you graduate from Vlerick Business School. It doesn't say you don't have, I've got an online MBA from it's a Vlerick MBA, and the flexibility and agility of the program that you've been describing is that you could jump into executive courses or MBA courses live, or go on, travel experiences, do capstone projects with the MBA program, and sort of adjust as needed. So that's great. So we've only got a couple of minutes left, but I wanted to give Leonardo a chance to tell us why Vlerick. Why should I consider, and I'm considering Vlerick MBA online.
Yeah. Well, I think first is, I think Lauren already mentioned a few of our strong points. But as you also said, Heather, at the very beginning, we've been quite early, an early mover, I think, in the online MBA market. And that also partly explains why we have learned so much on how to do it and why we are so highly ranked. The QS ranking currently puts us at number 12 in the world. So that's really high, right, for our online MBA. Also, if you look at that ranking, what sets us apart maybe from some of the other programs is the class experience. I think I mentioned it. We didn't want to have this too self-paced. We really wanted to have that synchronous interaction with the faculty. I think also that class experience closeness to faculty and tutors is one of our strong points, maybe because the groups are not too big, right? You have these relatively small cohorts 3 times a year stepping in, and then in courses, I think a reasonable size between 20, 40. And yeah, maybe once more to emphasize is that value for money, right? The price quality is something where we score really high. We are also, as a school, accredited all 3 main accreditation bodies. So we are a school with a long history. So even though we were early with our own MBA, that's still relatively new. But the school has been around since the 50s. So that's really long, right? We are one of the top European business schools with a long tradition. Vlerick is the name of our founder, the family name of our founder, who, inspired by the American model, created, very early on a business school in Europe. And of course, we still have our European identity, as Lauren said, right, which gives for American audience this extra flavor. Yeah, and I think the other things I've mentioned already before, that it's fully online, but you have that optional possibilities to connect with our alumni working, to connect with these other study trips if you want to. And maybe while talking to us, you might even be interested to take up one of these other MBAs we offer. There is another one that we are launching in November, which is even more focused on sustainability. We call it our European MBA because it will take you, it's blended, so it's half online and half in presence and at different locations in Europe with a focus on sustainability. So yeah, I think we have a lot to offer. So maybe if people want to get to know us, have a chat with us, and then you'll see if you want to follow Lauren's footsteps or not.
That sounds great. So very focused, very flexible, affordable, really, and very well regarded. How can people reach you? What's the best way?
Well, they can reach out to me now. They know my name. You can easily find me, and I'm happy to direct you to our colleagues that will then take them on the journey of the admission.
Well, there you go. So you have a personal invitation to contact the director of the Online MBA program at Vlerick. Thank you very much for that. And that's really it, unless you have any closing words. I appreciate your time. Thank you for sharing with our audience and our viewers that are online now and that will be later. Everybody, we'll see you in just a few minutes with another interview, and have a wonderful day. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.